Good evening, viewers. It's that day of the year that we celebrate. We remember the joys of the victory that we achieved from Pakistan to become an independent Bangladesh. It's the historic Victory Day. Welcome to this program. I'm Nadeem Quadir, and with me this evening is someone who is a Bangladeshi but has been staying in Canada for a long time. And what has been very interesting when I met him is that even away from home, his mind was definitely at home. And he has been researching on a subject that we have almost forgotten over the years. We talk about the freedom fighters, we talk about the war martyrs, we talk about women soldiers who fought the war, we talk about women who were raped, but we really have forgotten the children who were born during the war babies. And they are the living proof of the war. They are the living proof of the atrocities of the rape that the Pakistani army carried out during the war here in Bangladesh in 1971 war. I would like to invite to this program this evening Mr. Mustafa Chowdhury, and he's writing a book which is called Picking Up the Pieces, 1971 War Babies Odyssey from Bangladesh to Canada. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Let me start by asking that, as I said, that you are living far away from home, but your mind and heart was somewhere here in Bangladesh. But why did you pick up the topic that is so sensitive, but yet I'm so glad you did, because we have hardly spoken about the war babies. We don't even know the hundreds of war babies. Where are they?
Well, thank you for asking this question. It came very naturally. I was here in Bangladesh when the war was going on. And back in 72, when I left Bangladesh, the babies were born. And I saw in the newspaper the stories of rape and rape victims and the children being born and abandoned. So when I went to Canada, I wanted to find out about it. And I just found out that there was a group in Canada called Families for Children. They're the ones who were instrumental in adopting these kids,
Right.
these babies. So I wanted to follow up with them, and I did. And
Right.
this is how I started.
Right, but what really made you interested about the babies? Why did you want to track them down?
Well, actually, it's very personal. I was trying to adopt my own nephew, and I had hard time, difficulty in Canada, and I was doing a lot of readings on adoption, and I ended up finding more information on adoption of the war babies, and then I just started it, and I started writing about them back in Canada. That was in the 1990s. There was a Bengali newspaper that used to come out on a weekly basis, and I did a lot of writing. Then I thought over the years maybe I can put it all together and do it as a book. Banglapedia, I don't know if you know, but
Yes,
Banglapedia has a piece that I wrote on the war babies.
All right.
And over the years, I did a lot of work on that, and I thought I'd do a book on them exclusively.
But since you have been doing a research, do you have an estimate how many actually war babies were born?
This is like anybody's guess. There's all kinds of guesstimates about it. Dr. Davis, who came from International Planned Parenthood Federation in Canada, in Ottawa, in Dhaka, he estimated that maybe 4,000 babies, but there's no hardcore figures because there's a lot of abortions. People did abortions, and people were born in secret, so nobody knows they were abandoned. However, what I have is very well documented history here. There are 15 babies who were adopted in Canada. There is well documentation for it, and my book is only on 15 of them. There are several babies, and there's some confusion about the definition of the war babies.
Right.
War babies are actually babies who were born as a result of rape.
Right.
However, oftentimes we use the word interchangeably. We say war babies means babies who are born during the war, not
No,
necessarily
not
war
really,
babies.
not at all,
They are
not at all.
orphans,
Yes.
So it's all together. People put it all together. However, we're talking about war babies who are born as a result of rape.
Rape, right. And during this research, what has been the most striking thing for you? I mean, it's a very, as I was saying, it's a very sensitive issue. As you met this people possibly, and what was so striking in your research that
It is.
that you want to project in your book, Picking Up the Pieces?
Well, first of all, I just wanted to make sure that what the information that I have is authentic. So this is the information I just wanted to share with you. This is a document that's generated from It's called Shromo Kollan o Poribar Porikalpana Mantranalaya. It's a ministry.
social welfare.
Unfortunately, it's not available here. I got it from the National Archives in Canada. What it is, it's written by Sharafatullah, then Deputy Secretary, to Mother Teresa, basically asking her that he's pleased to give away 15 war babies on the condition that they would be adopted in Canada, and upon reaching the age of majority, they would be given Canadian citizenship. And on the other side of the page, here are the names of the babies who were born, the date of birth, and the adoptive parents, basically parents who were adopting them across the country. So what I did, I traveled across the country. I met all of them, all the
Across
parents.
Canada.
Yes, I tracked them down. I met the babies as well, who are in the 40 years old. They're all 40 years
Did
old.
the parents agree to meet you? What the subject?
It is. They're very open. It's
Okay.
it's the most interesting thing is that they're all white parents. They're white parents, and they're all biological children. They have biological children. So that debunks the myth. Usually, you would think that the people who adopt they
Are
don't have
childless.
children. But they're all fertile parents.
Okay.
They're fertile parents, and still they went ahead and adopted. So that was one of my questions. Why would
Why
you
you?
adopt? What trouble did the why and how of adoption? And when I asked the adoptees who are in their 40s, basically asking them their views, they have siblings from other countries. So basically they grew up in multiracial families. So their views, they know about the fact that they were adopted. But they were abandoned, they were adopted, and the father is is a putative father is a rapist. They know that. They've all come to terms with it. However, they
I'll go to that part later on details, but I would continue to talk about a little bit more about your research, because it's not an easy task. And where did you look up for these addresses for these people? What was your journey?
I started right from the address here. In Canada, it is very easy to track down people because you have information access. Here's their address and the postal code. So I run on the internet and looked for them, and I tracked them down, and I called them up and introduced myself. By then, I had already written in Bengali in Toronto, so I was quite known about that. So I introduced myself, and they said, "Sure, come over, welcome." They're very welcoming people. So I introduced myself, and one of the advantages I had that I was working for the federal government at that time, and I was traveling, so I had credibility. And so I went and introduced myself, and they said, "Fine." I introduced myself as a researcher, and they opened the doors. So basically, I talked to them, and they opened up. But it was a very difficult trail because it's a sensitive issue, and you don't want to be too personal, you don't want to probe into it. For example, when I was talking about the delay that was taking place in having the babies over, there was one mother who said that, yes, it was really long wait for me, but I don't want to talk about my labor pain in public. So like you have to be very careful, and as well sensitive. And I remember I had to unlearn a lot of things while interviewing one couple, and very naively I asked her, "How many are your own children?" Basically, I meant that আপনার কতজন ছেলে আপনার নিজস্ব,
How many children?
in my own very naive way. But she said, "Mustafa, let me stop you right there. They're all my children. Some are biological, some are not." So I really had to go back and unlearn. So it's a very sensitive area. You really have to be careful
Right,
how you
absolutely.
proceed. Same with the children. You could only go so far. However, they're very open. They talk about it. I had no problem. So I went back. One of the reasons it's taking so long is that I'm writing a piece. And
When
then
did you start
run.
actually? Which
When-
year? Which year?
I started back in the 1990s. It's almost 15 years now. The reason why it's taking so long is that, first of all, I had a full-time job. I retired last year. Now I'm doing it full-time. I write a piece and I run it by them. I just want to make sure that we're both on the same wavelength. Same wavelength. It's a very sensitive issue, so I don't want to write something that they don't want. We're not on the same page. To make sure that we're on the same page. So I run it by them. There's a lot of going back and forth. There's a lady who said that, "Yes, Mustafa, this is fine, but I don't want to share it with the public."
Right.
I don't want to share it with the public. So it's like going back and forth. But I just want to make sure that they are with me.
Right.
That's why.
Right. We'll take a short break and come back
Sure.
and continue. Well, viewers, I hope you'll be staying with us to hear more of this interesting discussion and what Mr. Mustafa has to say about the war babies. And it brings back a lot of memories for all of us at a time like this, and when the subject has so much been ignored in this country. So let's take a small break and come back and hear more about the war babies. Welcome back. You're watching Afterthoughts, and I'm Nadeem Quadir, and this is Victory Day Special. And my guest today is Mr. Mustafa Chowdhury. As I said, he has been researching on a very sensitive subject, but largely ignored in Bangladesh itself. It's about the war babies of Bangladesh's 1971 war. Well, Mustafa Chowdhury, as you were saying that some people do want to talk about it, some people don't want to talk about it. Let's hear more about your this war babies. So now they're around 42,
40 years old.
40 years old.
Exactly 40 years.
And when you talk to them about Bangladesh, about their, do they know the whole story?
They do. They know the way in which they were born, the way in which they were conceived, and the way in which they were shipped off from Bangladesh to Canada. They also know how they were received in Canada. They were embraced in Canada. Most of the newspapers in Canada on that day, the day of their arrival, which was July 19, 1972, welcomed them, saying that children of despair arrives home. You know, it's a nice title. And minister of the day and most of the dignitaries attended, went to the airport to welcome them, families welcome. It was a great event for them.
Right.
There's huge newspaper coverage for days together. You know, what I did, I followed the newspapers. Here's a picture you'd be interested to see. This is the picture of the babies
so-
who were
all right.
flown. It was taken 2 days before they were flown from
Right,
Dhaka. There are 17
All
babies,
in the same dress.
all same dressed, except for the boys and girls.
Yeah.
There's a difference. There are 17 babies. 15 only made them. 2 of them were too frail to travel, so they were not allowed to travel. 15 made it to Canada. They're all 40 years old. One of them is Amy. Her name is Amina Lynn, and this is where she is.
Okay.
I'm interviewing her back in the late 1990s. She teaches English in Germany now.
In Germany.
Yeah, she was here last year. They came. Some of them came to Canada actually to visit Children's Village in Sripur back in 1989 when they were 16-year-old.
Okay.
They all know that they were born in Bangladesh,
Yeah.
but they also know that they're Canadian. By
Right.
that they mean that.
Do they want to
parents-
look up their original mother?
Some of them wanted, some of them didn't. I asked individual, each of them. Some of them said that at this stage, I don't think I can adjust to the fact that I have a biological mother. By mother, they mean the mother who raised them. So every time they talk about the mother in Bangladesh, they say biological mother,
Right.
with whom they have no connection other than the fact that that the
She
mother
was-
gave birth to. Amy said that I wouldn't trade my parents for $1 million. By parents, she said the parents who raised them. You know, all of them. I individually asked all of them. They have different answers. For example, one of them said that at this stage, I don't think I'm ready to adjust to a new mother. I'm content with the mother I have. There's another person who says that yes, but I don't know who she is, except for the fact that she gave birth. You know, so there's no attachment. But some people do feel that it would be nice if I meet, but they're not ready to embrace them because they simply have no attachment. The only attachment they have is the parents.
At what age were they told about their story, about the life story?
It varies from families to families, but they knew from day one, they said, because they look different, because their parents are white and they have siblings all over, so they knew they were adopted. But the way in which they were conceived, they were told age appropriate level, you know. So it varies from family to family. They were, but the professional literature advised them that you really should inform the baby that baby so and so was adopted. You know, as then when the questions are asked, and you want to make sure. The last thing is that they would like to hear from somebody else that they were adopted. So they want to make sure that they do. So they proactively they actually did that. However, there's one boy in Toronto. I was asking him about his parents, about his biological mother. He said that if I meet my biological mother, every time he says biological mother, if I meet my biological mother, I will say how sorry I am for her, and I'll thank her. I will thank her because for not terminating my life, and I'll say how happy I am because I'm happy that my mother raised me. So I'm sure you wanted me to see happy. So here I am. So I'd like to thank my mom, biological mom. So this is how they see it. But they don't hold anything against the mother. They said that she loved me, but she wasn't in a position to keep me. The society didn't allow me. They seem to have a very good understanding of that. Nobody seems to be grumpy about it. But however, they also know the fact that they were not allowed, they were not accepted in the country of the birth.
Right.
They know that.
Do you think there's back of the mind you could detect some kind of sorrow?
There might be some bitterness, but they think that they grew up with love and compassion, and the bond that they have with their parents is so strong that they really don't look back and say that. But they do know. They know from the skin that they have different skin, but they also know that the parents are the parents that they wouldn't like to trade with anybody else. Parents bond, children bond is very strong, and it's the same question is asking the parents as well. It's very strong.
Do these children know much about Bangladesh? Not everyone has visited.
About 5 or 6 of them have. They know they know to the point that they know where the Bangladesh is, how they're born, and that's about it. They look.
How was the
They
war?
don't look like Canadians, but they behave like Canadians. Everything is like Canadian because they're raised in Canadian families. The mainstream.
But do they understand about the war?
They do. They understand a lot about. Actually, they've written quite a bit. There's 2 of them. They've done a lot of work about actually on war, violence, and they understand it. They understand. They seem to have a good understanding of it. There's just it's just that they find themselves so different than us. Because when I look at them, I said, you look like me, and you're so different. I said, yes. I asked them differently. Do you consider yourself Canadian? I said, yes, I am Canadian. I'm a Canadian born in Bangladesh. That's how they look at it. Canadians, by all definition, it's said Canadian. Canadian. Now, what is Canadian? Who is Canadian? Maybe another definition.
Right.
But I'm my parents' child. She'd say I'm my parents' child. My parents are white.
Right. In your book, in one chapter, you have given the title of "Joys and Woes of the Adoptive Parents."
Right.
Can you explain what are these joys and especially the O's?
Well, I'm just because this is a unique set of parents. All of them have adopted children, and they're biological children. About 6 or 7 of them. They've adopted from Vietnam, from Cambodia, from different countries. So it's like having a multiracial family within the family. And one parent says we are the minority because the parents, just the couple is white, and everybody else is different: Chinese, Japanese, Indonesian, black. And different age groups. You have sibling rivalry and everything. So that's why I was asking them experiences. And all of them have talked about, very frankly, about the pains of parenting. It's not just like parenting a war baby, parenting a teenager. Teenagers have problems. So this is what I meant. And all the pride that they take in adopting and raising the children. Many of them have got awards and recognitions just for they're all philanthropic work, doing all kinds of philanthropic work.
So how long will it take for this book to finally getting published? How more?
I'm hoping that I will be able to wrap it up in the next few months. I had some information gap, which is why I was here.
We have a book fair here every February, the Ekushe Boy Mela. Do you think you will be able to?
I was hoping, but I don't know. I'm going back in 2 weeks, and I hope to wrap it up. And it kind of depends, but let's keep our fingers crossed.
Right. And my last question: as a Bangladeshi living in Canada for a long time, you've seen the war, and then you left the country. And when you look back after so many years, writing such a topic, how has been your mental state?
I think it was quite enlightening for me. Enlightening in that I learned a lot. I learned a lot. It has broadened my own outlook. For example, everybody I talked to, these couples I talked to, one of the questions that I asked them, why is it that they had taken so much trouble to adopt from Bangladesh? They could have adopted from Canada. There are hundreds of kids available, babies available at a time when they did that. And all of them responded by saying almost the same thing, that the reason why we adopted from Bangladesh is that we wanted to give them a chance to live. If I don't adopt from Canada, they would continue to live, maybe in an institution, but they would live. But this baby, if I don't adopt, probably wouldn't make it. So this kind of compassion, love and compassion with which they embraced, it impressed me. And I find it amazing. It's amazing.
It's absolutely amazing. And Dr. Mr. Mustafa Chowdhury, I'm so glad that you picked up a topic and we have been able to tell our viewers today in this happy moment of victory day. I hope your book is published soon and the readers could have a copy of your book in Bangladesh very soon. And
Thank you.
you will continue to do more work, whether you live in Dhaka or in Canada. You will not forget your country and you will continue to work for Bangladesh in every way that you can.
Thank you. I feel very committed to it.
Thank you very much. It was a
Welcome.
great pleasure to have you in this program on this very auspicious occasion.
You're welcome.
Dear viewers, as I was saying, that indeed it kind of touched my heart too while talking to Mr. Mustafa Chowdhury, that the war babies, they're doing fine, and we know that if it's 4,000, it's maybe more. Many of them have been adopted by parents in the Western world. Many of them are living in other countries of the world, and we wish them a very happy victory day from here, wherever they are. If they're watching this program, I just want to tell them that come to Bangladesh, meet your family. That's the people of Bangladesh. The whole family is us, and we will welcome you with our heart, and wherever you are, you live a very happy life. That is the wish for all of these war babies, wherever they are in this world, on this Victory Day. Thank you for watching.